There is a quiet but profound shift that occurs when a person begins to truly love themselves. It is not a sudden burst of happiness or an ego-driven affirmation. It is a subtle realignment of the psyche, a deep integration of conscious and unconscious aspects of the mind. For most people, love is sought outwardly, projected onto others as though the act of finding it elsewhere will fill the gaps within. We are conditioned to believe that romance, affection, and validation are commodities that must be earned, caught, or persuaded from the outside world. Yet Jung taught that the psyche contains its own mirror. The external world reflects the internal state. What you attract is always a reflection of the energy you carry, consciously or unconsciously. If there is doubt, self-rejection, or fragmented identity inside, the relationships you draw will mirror that, full of misalignment, projection, or subtle dissatisfaction. This is the first principle of attracting authentic love, the alignment of the inner self. Those who embark on the path of self-love begin by facing themselves honestly, confronting aspects they have ignored, denied, or judged. Shadow work becomes essential because the parts we reject in ourselves often dictate the patterns we repeat in relationships. Without acknowledging the shadow, love becomes transactional, conditional, and ultimately unfulfilling. But when a person nurtures their authentic self, integrating strengths, weaknesses, desires, fears, and aspirations, a magnetic coherence forms. This coherence is subtle yet powerful, drawing experiences, people, and situations that resonate with the internal truth. Self-love is not narcissism. It is self-acceptance. It is the recognition that you are whole, even with imperfection, and that wholeness is the only true foundation for a healthy, sustainable relationship. The paradox is that when you stop seeking externally, when you stop trying to fill a void with someone else's presence, you create the space for love to enter naturally. The mind becomes less reactive, less anxious, and more open to connection that is authentic rather than performative. Jung emphasized individuation, the process of becoming the self you are meant to be. This process is inseparable from love. You cannot fully receive love without first being aware of your own nature, needs, and boundaries. True attraction is therefore a reflection, not of superficial charm or external traits, but of the psychological and emotional integrity you carry. People who love themselves communicate differently. They do not seek validation in every interaction. They express boundaries clearly yet gently. They listen deeply because they are not preoccupied with approval or fear. They carry an energy that signals stability, maturity, and authenticity, which is precisely what attracts a partner capable of reciprocating at the same level. Self-love also transforms perception. The world becomes a mirror of possibilities rather than scarcity. When the internal state is one of acceptance and compassion toward oneself, it naturally extends toward others, but without dependency. The result is relationships that are based on choice and mutual respect, rather than neediness or projection. Another subtle but crucial aspect is timing. Many people rush into relationships in an attempt to feel worthy or loved, inadvertently repeating patterns of codependence or imbalance. The practice of self-love fosters patience, the understanding that love arrives in alignment, not in force. By cultivating the inner world, you allow the right external conditions to emerge organically. Energy that would have been spent on seeking validation is redirected toward growth, creativity, and self-realization. This creates a vibrational signature, to borrow a metaphor, a frequency that resonates with compatible individuals, opportunities, and experiences. Jung also suggested that archetypes play a role in relational dynamics. When we are unconscious of our own needs and shadows, we project unmet desires onto others, often unconsciously choosing partners who replicate old patterns. Self-love interrupts these patterns by fostering awareness. By recognizing what is truly desired and needed, rather than what is familiar or conditioned, we allow attraction to occur at a deeper, more authentic level. Importantly, this process is ongoing. Self-love is not static. It evolves as awareness grows. The more a person understands their own motives, fears, and desires, the clearer their boundaries and the more magnetic their presence becomes. The mind and heart in harmony attract experiences that echo this internal coherence. In practical terms, loving yourself may manifest in small but meaningful behaviors. Honoring personal needs without guilt, cultivating hobbies and passions, speaking kindly to oneself, reflecting on emotional triggers without judgment, and maintaining integrity even when challenged. Each act reinforces the internal alignment, making it increasingly impossible to attract relationships that do not fit. Conversely, neglecting self-love invites repetition of relational patterns that feel familiar but are ultimately unfulfilling. The universe, in this perspective, is not a magical entity but a reflection of systemic alignment. What is balanced inside finds its counterpart outside. Those who love themselves consistently act, think, and feel in ways that resonate with their authentic self. As a result, love that arrives mirrors depth, maturity, and alignment rather than surface-level attraction. The paradox is simple yet profound. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you seek validation externally, the more fulfillment enters naturally. Love emerges not from pursuit but from presence, from authenticity, and from the conscious cultivation of the self. The deeper the connection to oneself, the more likely the relationships you form are meaningful, enduring, and reciprocal. This principle applies not only to romantic love but to all forms of meaningful connection. Self-respect and self-compassion create the conditions for trust, intimacy, and mutual growth. The energy of authenticity cannot be faked, and it is precisely this energy that draws true love. In conclusion, when you love yourself, you are no longer fragmented, anxious, or dependent on external validation. Your inner world is coherent, integrated, and vibrant. You attract not just anyone, but the people, experiences, and circumstances that reflect this truth. Self-love is the gateway. It is the magnet. By committing to awareness, shadow work, and authentic living, you ensure that the love you receive is real, sustainable, and reflective of your deepest self. In the end, the principle is clear. The universe mirrors the inner self. Love begins within, and only from this foundation can it flourish externally in its truest, most enduring form.